grind is out to see the song. We'll be making these tunes until the weed is gone. We sonic boom, keep the metaphor going. From the farm to the lab, but you already knowin'. Another season from the seed to the bong. It's a never-ending cycle, so we never stop growing. Check the style, y'all, I've never been a clone. Cali dad, I got a style on my own. I live in the forest, no shortage on trees. Got a jar in every drawer full of foliage. OG, cooling with my homies on a Saturday. Up in the studio, no matter what the forecast. Gotta let the...
All right, where do we begin, guys? We got to talk about Brad Holmes being held accountable for this season. You know, when the season first started, you was thinking like, okay, man, this is the opportunity for the Detroit Lions to go to the Super Bowl. We knew last year those guys were playing well. They went 15-2, broke a franchise record. But now we come into this season just wanting to get into the postseason. Not wanting to be the number one team because we know what that looks like, being number one and getting knocked out in the first round by a rookie quarterback. So, you know, that's kind of left a stain on us. But at the same time, the accountability that Brad Holmes has to be held to is that simply Brad had every opportunity to get this roster better. As a GM, you know what your job is. Nobody had to tell you what your job is. By him playing Mr. Smart Guy and, to me, kind of mocking the fans and stuff like that with the little slick talking and stuff like that, we're talking about the edge position and the player being 6'4" and 250 pounds and blah, 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 all this stuff that Brad was saying. It was a bunch of hill of beans, man. He sold us a bill of goods, man, because this was the season where you could ultimately get that defense together. You decided to take a defensive tackle in the first round instead of drafting an edge. Now, we know that, of course, he probably is not going to want to get the other edge position over there in the first round because you're going to have to pay that person a lot of money, especially if they pan out and they end up becoming a stud. You're going to have to pay them a lot of money. And he already knew that Hutch was going to be getting a big bag from them. The biggest thing that you had to know is that you had the opportunity to go and get an edge. You had is no excuses, man, why you did not come back with an edge this season. You had the opportunity in the offseason. You had the opportunity when it was all of those free agents and you decided to sign none of them. That was the first time in my life watching football that there was that many defensive ends that were free agents. You know, we're talking about Joey Bosa, from Khalil Mack to Leonard Floyd. It was just a lot of different guys, man, that you could have went and got to be able to help Hutch get to the quarterback. Now, guess what the biggest problem in Detroit is right now? The biggest problem in Detroit is that they can't get to the quarterback. And even with Hutch on the team, we still can't get to the quarterback, guys. Now, I'm not going to blame Aiden Hutchinson because I know that he's coming off a severe leg injury, but he's doing the best that he can, and I'll look at it that way. You know what I'm saying? I think if Hutch ends up at least with 10 sacks on the season, you know, you'll feel like, okay, this kid accomplished something this year. He was able to come back from his injury, and he returned somewhat to his old form. But Hutch still is not at 10 sacks yet, so hopefully in these next 5 games, he'll be able to get to 10 sacks on the season. But we see that now you understand why we wanted Myles Garrett to be a part of this team. Why we wanted Myles Garrett more so than Zadarius Smith, because Myles Garrett is that dude. Now, Myles Garrett right now currently has 18 sacks, which if he plays the way that he continues to play, he's going to break the record this season. And I'm pulling for him to break the record because records are meant to be broken. So definitely, man, I would love to see Myles Garrett break the record, just like I wanted to see Saquon Barkley last year break the rushing title record, and he decided not to do it. So for whatever reason that was, Saquon Barkley decided not to go after the record, which I think he would have had it. And now this season, Saquon Barkley is not having the best season right now. So, you know, Philadelphia is still a winning football team, but Saquon Barkley is not having his best season this year. And it is what it is. Every year you don't know what somebody's going to be able to do out on the field. But what we do know is that Brad has to be held accountable for the way the Detroit Lions roster was built. The only thing that you were asking as a fan is for Brad Holmes to be able to deliver in the area of getting his pass rush together. We got 1,000,000 defensive tackles on this team. 1,000,000. So we don't need any more run stoppers on this team. We need guys. And if you get a defensive tackle, it has to be a dude that can get a pass rush. Not just a guy that can stop the run and plug up the middle. Just a big guy in the middle plugging up the middle. No, you have to get after today's top quarterbacks. You have to be able to stop a Josh Allen. You got to be able to stop a Patrick Mahomes. You got to be able to stop a Lamar Jackson. You got to be able to stop some of today's top quarterbacks. You even got to stop Drake May now for the Patriots. Who would have thought that the Patriots would be 10-1? Nobody. Nobody thought this team would have been 10-1. So you even got to stop a Drake May because he's a dual threat. But we played excellent and we did well against Lamar Jackson, sacking him 7 times. But after that, we haven't seen that type of effort on the field anymore. Now we can barely get to the quarterback. Now we're sacking that quarterback with a few seconds left in the game, in overtime. Hutch is not even able to get to the quarterback like that. Yeah, he's getting double teamed. Yeah, he's getting chipped. But he's not an elite pass rusher yet. Hutch is a solid pass rusher. He's not elite. He's not on Micah Parsons level. He's not on Myles Garrett level. You look the track record up and you see what Micah Parsons has been able to do every single season. Double-digit sacks for Michael Parsons every single season since he's been in the National Football League. So that's why Michael Parsons got paid the big bucks by the Green Bay Packers. That's why he got the money. That's the reason why Myles Garrett got the money as well. He got the bag as well. Now, Myles Garrett could have went to another team and was traded to another team or whatever, but the Cleveland Browns did not want to let him go because they knew how important it is to have a pass rush. And the Cleveland Browns have one of the best defenses in the National Football League. Those guys fly around and they get pressure and they sack the quarterback. You thought that Brad Holmes would kind of form a tandem like you see in Texas with Will Anderson Jr. and you also see with Danielle Hunter. You thought that was the type of tandem that we would have. They end up taking a kid in the 6th round from Boise State, end up cutting the kid, and end up signing the kid back. He can't help us, man. He can't save us. He can't save us. And then Marcus Davenport comes back off the IR, who's pretty much been down the whole season pretty much, and he can't save us either. I think that bringing back Marcus Davenport was one of the worst things that Brad Holmes could have did because you needed to tweak this team a little bit. Sometimes you can't come back with every guy that you can't run it back with every guy. And that's what he did. He wanted to run it back with all of these guys, and none of this stuff panned out. Levi ends up getting hurt. He's out for the full season. Josh Pascal, he doesn't play the full season this year. He doesn't even touch the field this year. You got all of these guys that were supposed to help us and be healthy on that D-line, and none of these guys can really help us. Marcus Davenport can't get to the quarterback like we think. He had 1 sack against Green Bay at the beginning of the season in the first game. But after that, he's been hurt, and he finally came back against Green Bay again, and he lays an egg. So you know that Marcus Davenport can't help us. He can't be brought to this team next year. He cannot. Not even as a rotational piece. You got to move on for Marcus Davenport. He's not giving us nothing out there, Brad Holmes. Nothing. Hutch needs help. He cannot do it by himself. And we are seeing that, and we are witness to this right now because Hutch sometimes himself struggles. He struggles sometimes. We got to keep it a buck. We got to keep it real. Sometimes Aiden Hutchinson struggles with getting to the quarterback. He is not elite yet. Not saying that he can't get elite because I love Hutch, and Hutch is a dog. Hutch is a dog. I'm not going to dog the man out and say he can't play or anything like that. Hutch is a dog. But you just got to know, you got to know that it's levels to this thing. It's levels to this thing in the NFL. Every NFL player may not be on the same level. We know that a lot of guys is not on the level of Myles Garrett. We know that it's a lot of guys out there that not on the level of Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons, had 2.5 sacks in the game on Thanksgiving against the Detroit Lions? And I know he's over double-digit sacks because he's been doing it every single season that he's been in the league. So the biggest thing that you got to know is that the Lions need to develop a consistent pass rush. And I got to hold Brad Holmes accountable for this because he had every opportunity. Even at the trade deadline, he decided not to make a move. Even though you know that the offensive line was not playing well, he decided to make a move and not pick up anybody. Yeah, we probably could have traded for the kid, Jalen Phillips, but you got to remember, we traded away all of our third-round picks for Tesla, who's barely playing on the field, who's barely getting the ball, who's barely getting targeted on the field. So it's a lot of things this season, man, that just is not going right, man, for the Detroit Lions. And you look over there in Chicago, and Ben Johnson is over in the locker room taking his shirt off and going crazy and nuts in the locker room and got those guys amped up and fired up. I knew that the Bears wasn't going to be down for a long time. I knew this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to hate against Ben Johnson going to a team that had a young quarterback. I'm not going to hate on it at all. Yeah, he went to a division rival, which, you know, you think like in your mind that he wouldn't have done that. But he went to the place where he thought that was best for him. So I understand it. I totally understand it. Even though I may not like it, I totally understand it. You know what I'm saying? He didn't take the Washington job, which he could have had Jaden Daniels as his quarterback. He didn't take the Carolina job. He could have had Bryce Young as his quarterback, but he decided to take his talents over to Chicago Bears, and we got to deal with it now. We got to see Ben Johnson every single season now. And currently, yeah, we beat them in the first game, but now we got to beat them in this last game that we're going to have to play them in. And right now, the Lions going to need help to get in the postseason. Somebody is going to have to start losing. And the Lions got to win. They got to win out at least. They got 5 games left. They're going to have to win at least 4 of those games. They're going to have to go 4-1 and get help just to make it into the postseason. And right now, everybody's been winning their football games. The 49ers have been winning their games. The Packers been winning their games. They just won against us. They swept us this season. And then the Bears have been winning. The Bears are 9-3. The Packers are 8-3. And then we're sitting at 7-4, still dangling the keys and trying to get in. All of this whole season is going to be, and it's going to fall on Brad Holmes because he had the opportunity to go out there and get the job done, and he chose not to do it. Whether you want to mock the fans or not, Brad Holmes, this was your job to get this team better and ready to go. Only thing that this team really needed was a pass rush. That's it. And the reason why guys are not looking good in the secondary because you can't get to the quarterback. So if you can't get to the quarterback and you can't put pressure on the quarterback or you can't sack the quarterback, guess what? It's going to expose the defense. So now you get a subpar season from Terrion Arnold. You get a subpar season from DJ Reed. Kirby Joseph has been hurt. Brian Branch has been going through whatever he's been going through after that suspension. And things are all in his mind right now. His mind is kind of cloudy right now. So you're not getting the best out of your secondary because, number one, you're not getting a consistent pass rush. Like I told you before, this defense has to be built around Aiden Hutchinson. It has to. This defense has to be built around Aiden Hutchinson. And you know this. But Aiden Hutchinson can't do it by himself. He needs somebody else on the other side of him. Al-Qadim Muhammad, he's not it. He's a rotational guy. I would keep Al-Qadim Muhammad on the team as a rotational guy. He's not a starter. You got to go out there, Brad Holmes, and find a starter on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. You owe it to this Detroit Lions team to go out there and get a player that's going to be able to play alongside Aiden Hutchinson and that these boys are going to be ready next year because this year you may not make the playoffs. And Brad Holmes has to be held accountable for the way that this season turned out because he decided not to bring the talent on the defensive line. This all is going to fall in his basket this year. So we'll see what happens in the offseason.